I can't hear you. Hold on.
Nice. All right. So, episode 3, we are going to be talking to Candice Lee. The goal was to talk about women in jiu-jitsu today. What makes people want to join, what keeps women from joining, stuff like that. Once again, I am Brian East. I'm the owner here at Three Brothers Jiu-Jitsu, and this is...
Candice Thomas, blue belt at Three Brothers Jiu-Jitsu.
What do you do for a living?
I am an instructor at McNeese.
Nice, very cool, very cool. So you teach all the time. So my first question would be, why should women do jiu-jitsu?
Why should women do jiu-jitsu? There's many reasons why women should probably do jiu-jitsu. I know for me, I gained a lot of confidence after starting jiu-jitsu, and it didn't take very long, maybe about 2 months into it, still not knowing anything, brand new white belt, and just the confidence level really boosted. Also, I feel like self-defense, I feel like that might be one of the most obvious reasons.
Right.
But it's a time thing, you know, you have to have patience with it because you're not going to learn everything in just one class or in the first couple of months. It takes a long time. But after that, I feel like just being able to possibly just walk around knowing that if something were to happen, maybe I could, I would have a better chance of defending myself or even my daughter.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that. Meeting new people. I've met so many new people in jiu-jitsu, females, males, kids, parents, all of that. I feel like, and that's probably more for everyone, but for women, I feel like maybe at my age as well, I don't normally get out a whole lot and meet new, women and have friends. I have my coworkers and
right.
I have my old high school friends, but this was a way for me to meet other people as well.
Absolutely.
As far as females. Other reasons, stay in shape. I know with me, I lost about 40 pounds in 4 months.
That's awesome.
When I started.
4 months, that's crazy.
Yeah, it melted off, but it really did. I was having trouble losing weight.
You were going to the gym and stuff like that too already,
Yes.
weren't you?
Yeah, so I was going to the gym, I was lifting weights, playing racquetball, I would run bleachers, do yoga.
Oh yeah, that's right. You and Dakota would go and ride bikes too. And
Yeah, I did all of that, but it just, I would lose maybe 10 pounds in a year or something like that.
Crazy.
It took a little while.
and now you cut 5 to 10 pounds in a week to go compete.
Yeah.
And it means nothing to you. It's wild.
Yeah, just getting in shape. And that could have helped out. That might have been part of the reason why I gained a little bit of confidence in the beginning, is because I did see quite a bit of weight just coming off, and you feel better. And growing up in like my adult years before I had my daughter, I was always, one weight basically, anywhere between 150, 160. I never fluctuated a whole lot. And then after I had my daughter, I gained quite a bit and just had trouble losing that weight.
Yes,
and I
ma'am.
really thought at one point, like, this is my life. Like, I'm just going to always be big now.
Well, I'm just fat Candice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine there's a lot of women that are probably sitting out there feeling the same way, that they've tried going to the gym. It's hard to be consistent. It's hard to keep motivated,
Right.
to stay on track for those goals. You got to eat right, you got to do all this other stuff. I feel like your body acclimatizes to the weights you're lifting, so now you have to lift heavier weights, and maybe you're not confident or comfortable with doing that. Maybe you're confident and comfortable with the weights that you're at. Whereas jiu-jitsu, you don't really get the option of being confident or comfortable. You
Right,
know?
yeah.
Like, people are going to do what they're going to do, and you have to learn how to deal with that sort of
a whole lot of
stuff.
control over that. Right, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So I really don't think about that very often, as far as like, I'm not really a social butterfly myself, as you know. So it's hard for me to like go out and meet people and do stuff. So for me, being in the gym that's one of the big upsides to it, is that it allows me to socialize outside of like my day-to-day life, just running and gunning, talking to people. I get to meet new people. Man, personally, I've had a lot of like great people come through the door, and they've motivated me to do more stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like Roland got me to go back to the gym, and Julian constantly pushes me to like work more as far as with the jiu-jitsu and learn new things, and he's always kind of talking about some new stuff that he saw. And so for me, the members, I mean, they're more than friends. They're like they're shoving me down the path of success,
Yeah.
whether I want to go
Great
or not.
motivators, right.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really good point that you brought up as far as like why to join, the confidence thing as well. It was something I wanted to talk about. I spoke with a young lady the other night about, you know, what are the things that once you got into the gym, what made you want to stay in the gym?
Right.
And she was like, well, I felt good. I moved better. I looked better. I felt better. Like, you're confident when you're walking around and you don't feel like you're fat or you don't feel like you're gross, like you're working on that
healthy,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, you feel better. You're more confident.
Well,
she's like, if somebody told me I would have felt that way, I wouldn't have believed them.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't have. But once you're doing it,
You have to see it for yourself.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, and with working out, so I haven't been lifting weights, but I know every time I do, I feel better about it. I feel good about myself, but how come I cannot go back and continuously and consistently lift weights, but I can do jiu-jitsu consistently? And I think it's just, when I'm here, I guess you know everyone, and
It's like Cheers.
it's like, yeah. But at the gym, I don't know, I feel a little bit more intimidated going to the gym because it is just normally just so many random people, and you don't have conversations with them, you don't talk to them, which is great. I mean, the whole point of going to lift weights is not to socialize. But I think in jiu-jitsu, you do both. You get to socialize, you get to learn, you know, other people's, you know, get to learn about them, their lives, their children, whatever. And I think that kind of helped motivate me to continuously go, you know, show up for class when I first started. And I feel like my situation was a little unique because I did jiu-jitsu for about 2 months, and then COVID hit, and then all the gyms shut down. You know, everything shut down.
Right.
And so at that time, it was just you and I. So that was easier to just go in my brother's garage or my cousin's shop and roll around on a 5x5 mat, and that's what we did for months. And then we were able to get back into the gym. It was only like a couple of months we did that, and we were able to get back into the gym. But then even then, there was just a few of us, and just constantly like getting rounds in, and you get to hang out with people and just kind of get to know them. So each time coming back through those doors, it's not as hard, it's not as intimidating, because it's like, oh, well, you know, I talked to Brian last night, or I talked to whoever, yes, you know, and they're just, I feel like it was always an encouraging environment for me in some sense. And certain people did that, of course.
Right.
But yeah, I think meeting people, it definitely helped me out. You know, and I think that'll help out with a lot of other women. And then once, you know, hopefully that continues to grow here, I feel like, you know, relationships will form, and I mean, and then at the same time you're getting to learn self-defense, and I feel like it all just comes like together.
Right.
You know what I mean? The time's gonna pass, you know, no matter what. Why not just come to class every few times a week and learn something new, and you get more and more confident, you get better at it, and all of that. So
yeah, absolutely. So one of the other things I wanted to ask you about, so as far as women doing jiu-jitsu, I feel like a lot of those things apply to men as well. Is there anything specifically for women? I mean, aside from the stuff that we kind of talked about, is there anything specifically about jiu-jitsu that you feel like women would gain versus maybe just going to lift weights or doing something else with their free time? Is there anything that you feel like jiu-jitsu offers that other things don't offer as far as
I think it goes back to just like a self-defense situation. Yeah. I really do. You know, when I come in here right now, there's a lot of males, and then even when I was at Olympic, there was, I mean, this is a more male-dominant sport either way, but I felt like I was able to control my breathing better, thing.
Golly,
So in a tough situation, so I know like for us, or I guess for anyone, but like for women, if you get attacked, you know, what are you going to do in that sense? And there's too many variables to get into when it comes to like any kind of situation.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
But for me, at least, I know I've been in a lot of situations with bigger guys on top of me, and as many times you just want to give up, I try to see like how far I can push myself into, you know, in that like uncomfortable setting,
right.
you know. And I guess that still really relates for everyone else, but you know, it's more likely for, you know, a woman to, you know, get attacked by a male versus male being attacked by a female, especially I guess at my age. But I feel like I could protect my daughter a little bit better as well. You know, if something were to happen.
Good feeling to be walking down the street. I mean, you're on vacation in New Orleans or Houston or whatever,
right.
and you're not as intimidated by Joe Blow walking down the road because you're so used to fighting guys his size or whatever that it's just
used to them being on my back trying to choke me, or on top of me trying to choke you, or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And I think it helps because I would feel like in that situation it would be very hard to think straight.
Yes.
And I feel like in here, you know, you're simulating something like that.
Right.
And I mean, we're not involving striking and all of that, but either way, I feel like just maybe having some sort of idea of like being in this situation, like, okay, what can I do? How are they on top of me? How can I use their body weight against them to help myself out? Little things like that. Right. And I think a lot of it just matters. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel personally that was my big thing, was the self-defense aspect of it, because you legitimately are able to control a situation. That's one of the big things that I talk about with the parents, is I'm not teaching your kid how to beat some other kid up. I'm teaching your child how to control the situation. If they are able to control the situation by going to mount, by going to back, being able to take the fight off of the feet and put them on the floor, they've controlled that situation. So now that other child doesn't have the opportunity to hit them as hard or cause as much damage or do anything like that. And I feel like that's it's much tougher for a female to do that to a male, especially as adults. At the younger ages, it really doesn't matter. But once that testosterone and estrogen start doing their thing in your body, you get a much different animal. And I feel like if you don't practice and you don't see what it's like to fight a man or fight a woman, you don't understand those differences. Or
someone bigger than you, too.
Absolutely,
just much bigger. That's stronger, all of it.
Chance, just trying to roll with Chance. It's tough. I mean, and he's a 2-stripe white belt, 3-stripe white belt at this point. It's crazy. It just, how, for anybody who doesn't think strength matters in a fight, I'm a firm believer that you probably have never been in a fight, because it hurts. It hurts.
And then no way in my mind do I think if something were to happen, I'm going to like beat someone up or but I could at least possibly create a situation where you can just get away, you know, and I think that's what people forget about. They forget about that part. It's like, you know, I'm not going to like pull them into my guard and be able to like armbar someone that's actually trying to beat me up, but maybe I could at least get the heck away from them, you know, or
create good frames. Give yourself
create
room
frames
to get out
so
of
where I'm not getting, where, you know, the damage is a little bit less in my situation, where you can just get away. And
Absolutely.
I think that's a big part of it, is just learning. And it's learning little things. You know, a lot of it's counterintuitive. I remember when I started, you would always tell me, face your fears, stop turning your back, stop turning away, face your fears.
Yeah.
And I mean, I grew up with some wrestlers, so that was one of the things, and that's one of the things in wrestling, you can give up your back, you know? And so I remember, like, that was always my, like, initial reaction, which is most people's. And it makes sense. Well, if you turn away, you don't know what's happening behind you. You don't have eyes behind your head, you know?
Not yet.
So you face them and back away. Just little things like that. And you're like, oh, that makes sense, you know?
Oh, I create space, I deal with the issue, and Well, I mean, this
just little things.
I feel like that's good life advice in general, is just, you know, get room to breathe, think about what you're going to do, see the problem, face it head on, and then address it. Like, do what you can do. And it might be, like you said, it might be just the opportunity to get up, clear space, and get out of there, get away from it. And maybe that's how you control the situation, by removing yourself from the situation.
Yes, absolutely.
I talked to a young man the other day, one of our students here, having an issue with a kid at school where they were kind of not bullying him, but just messing with him and giving him trouble. And I told him, you don't have to deal with that. If you don't like the way they talk to you, don't talk to them.
Right.
Get away from it. It's the easiest, quickest way to deal with any of that nonsense. I don't have to participate in this. If you want to be ugly to me, I can just leave the situation. If you feel like something's not working out for you and you're on the bottom, create frames, get up to your feet, and then deal with it another way.
Right.
Or escape the situation completely. I mean, there's things that we can do about stuff, but if you don't practice it and you don't, it would be me trying to go teach math at McNeese. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I wouldn't be able to, but if I practice it and I went and watched you do it every day for months and months and months, I bet I could go in there and talk for 15, 20 minutes maybe and at least be able to relay some information.
Right.
If you don't come practice this, if you just sit in the mirror telling yourself, oh, I'm gonna see red and it's just bodies will stop dropping, you know, like
that's not gonna
it's not how it works. That's not how it works at all.
Yeah.
So you need an opportunity to actually put it into application. I feel like we give people an opportunity to do that here with positional training and then live training after class. But either way.
I think it's a good way to ease you into that live training as well, especially for newcomers. You know?
Absolutely, yeah. So once you do positional training, you're gifted a good position. You might start in guard, you might start on back or side control.
You know, some sort of
technique.
drill or technique that you can use with the position we start with versus just standing up and just
it is.
What do I do?
It's extremely intimidating to stand across from somebody and like, all right, well, for the next 5 minutes, we're going to try to choke each other and then bend arms and legs in ways they're not meant to and see what happens. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
First day person, you ready?
It was my first day, so
it's extremely intimidating, I believe. So I do think that the positional training is a great way to kind of like ease us into that stuff. And then again, you've worked on a technique, so you have an idea about that position already. You've already been drilling it for the last 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, if anything, just try to do that over and over.
And that's
which is what I try to do still. So.
It's not a bad idea. It's move of the day.
Yeah.
So are there specific pros you feel like for females training jiu-jitsu? I mean, we've talked about weight loss and self-defense.
Community. I mean, I guess that was, where I was really getting at with, just meeting new people and, if you're not sure where to meet new people, and then I feel like this is a great place to start, you know.
Yeah.
I guess just really everything that we've talked about, the self-defense, I feel like is really the biggest thing. Just having a little bit more confidence if something were to happen. And I know, like with myself at where I work, not that I am exposed to all kinds of violence, but I've talked to you about this, like there are little things, like I think about just, is a student going to go crazy today because of something I may have said yesterday to them and they didn't like it, and little things like that. That might be a little bit off topic, but just some things like that. I feel like I'm a little bit more aware of my surroundings. I feel like I try to just, maybe watch people's body language a little bit more, just little things like that. You're just always not.
I imagine that you pick up more on those things as well now that you're aware of it. Like you can tell when somebody's riled up and agitated,
right,
because you see it when you roll. Like, hey, you okay? Did I bump you? Yeah, you accidentally got me in the mouth. I am so sorry. I didn't even notice.
Right.
But you get that. You see it, you feel it, you understand it much better. I feel like once you practice this stuff for a while, I definitely think that it helps you. Again, stealing Fight Club lines, but when you have violence in your life, everything else kind of gets the volume turned down. So it's much easier to pick up on those little cues that might be very subtle to everybody else, but to us, I feel like we have a better understanding of it. Like you see that far more often, so you kind of have an idea. I love that you said community as well, because that's, for me, that was a big thing. I know that like on our websites and stuff, I put like family-friendly jujitsu. I mean that stuff. I want kids to be out here. I see kids playing in the corner while we're doing classes. None of that upsets me as long as they're not in any way possibly going to get rolled over or anything like that. I'm absolutely fine with that. I want people bringing their children up here. Christian recently brought his wife up here to sit with us and check out classes and stuff. The Dubards have all their kids up here all the time. It's a community. It's a big family. We all talk to one another. We help each other grow and build. In my opinion, I feel like we all are interested in seeing one another succeed.
We're invested, I feel like, in one another.
Yeah.
I mean, even, you know, when we were at Olympic, we threw baby showers for some of the girls up there that were having babies, you know, at the gym. So just little things like that. Amelia still talks about some of the kids that she
nobody
rolled
actually
within.
had a baby at the gym, by the way. The baby was had in the hospital. Just want to make sure we're not birthing children in the gym.
We had the baby showers at the gym, but yeah, I mean, she always talks about the kids that are here, or you know, that she used to do jujitsu with back at Olympic, and it's just, you know, there really is a sense of community in jujitsu, I feel like. And then women, there's just there's so few of us compared to men. I feel like we might look at that or hold on to that a little bit more. You know what? We have just women's classes, but I mean, women's classes that does allow other women who might be incredibly intimidated to come in here and roll with a bunch of men, that allows them to be able to, you know, try out jiu-jitsu in a more comfortable, less intimidating setting as well.
Yes, ma'am. Why do you think there's so few women in the sport versus men? Is there a specific thing you think that creates that?
I think just martial arts period is just a more male dominant sport. I mean, with wrestling, I know for me, so I grew up with some wrestlers in the family, and it was always stated, girls don't wrestle.
Girls don't wrestle.
And so, I mean, that could be, and I could not, I may not be the only family that, that, you know, or person that went through that or has heard that.
I guarantee you're not.
Right, and so, I mean, I think it's just a more, maybe because of the violence in it, you know?
Yeah, it's intimidating.
It's intimidating.
If there's already guys up there, are they going to be beating up on me? And
right.
Yeah.
But I just think, I mean, just period, it's always been more male dominant in any kind of martial art. But again, it could just be hitting one another or rolling around with one another and all of that. Sorry. But, and I think too, like for me, when I started over at Olympic, I was the only female in that first class. If you hadn't have been there, I don't know if I would have gone back, you know what I mean? It is just very intimidating that you walk into a gym and you just see a bunch of guys in here, and you're just sweating and rolling around. I mean, it's not a very inviting atmosphere. I think it takes a certain personality type maybe as well. And this is the thing, I didn't grow up to be a violent person. I never got in fights. I hated confrontation. I hated all of that. I didn't want to fight as an adult in my 20s, 30s. But for some reason, like I just latched onto it quick. I know females that they are scrappy and love to fight, and they won't step in here. And I've tried to get them to come in here. I'm like, this will be perfect for you. You love violence. No, not doing that. And it's like, you know, I'm complete opposite of that, and you know, this is just something, and maybe that's why. Maybe it's because I knew how much in that part of my life I was lacking. Maybe if I wanted to build that part of myself up or get better about, you know, just being a little bit more confrontational or not violent, but at least like it's okay to get hit in the face, or it's okay to lose something or lose a fight or whatever. Maybe that's why I was trying to seek this so much. Maybe that's why I just wanted to continuously come, because I wanted to make that part of my life a little bit better, or that about myself a little bit better. And
so I don't think that jiu-jitsu, now not off topic, or try not to get off topic, but just what you said, I don't feel like jiu-jitsu I don't think it has an appeal for those like scrappy, violent types, because in their mind, they're those I see red, bodies drop people.
Right, yeah.
I think that jiu-jitsu and martial arts in general appeals to like nerdy, competitive people. Like if you would be fine with like studying for hours and hours and hours on end, and you just want to have the best, highest test score that you can possibly have for whatever, and you're willing to read all these books and, you know, research this information, jiu-jitsu is for you.
It's the challenge part, and I think that's what it was. It just needed something challenging. You know?
Well, this is a challenge.
It's very challenging.
But I think
lifting weights is not as challenging. You know, as far as, I mean, it's challenging in a physical sense.
Yes.
You know, okay, this set of weight is, you know, light for me now. Let me go up. But like the move is always the same. You know, whatever squat or whatever bench press you're doing. But this is just, it's a very challenging sport, and that appeals to me a lot.
I can imagine. And again, the competition, like you said that you had played sports and done softball and stuff like that. So I think the competition of it is also a lot of fun for people as well, to be able to push yourself, and at any point in time, something doesn't go well or you don't feel well, you just tap and reset.
And you don't even have to sign up for a competition to get that competition aspect.
Absolutely. Another, not to keep bringing Julian up, but so him and I both, we're not big fans of competing. Like we've done it before, we understand the value in it, but it's just not something that appeals to us. At 35, at 40, it just doesn't hold as much weight with us. We have other responsibilities and priorities, and those things matter. Whereas you have other priorities and other responsibilities, and you choose to make competition because that was such a big part of like growing up, and you would get to go out on the field and go against another team that you had never met or people you didn't know, and that was a fun thing for you. I feel like you get a lot of that same kick when you go to compete. Like I can see it when you walk out on the mat, you're amped up, you're fired up, you're ready to go. Like that's a fun time for you. Whereas I don't think that everybody probably would feel that way, but again, you don't have to do that. You can just stay here. And I feel like Julie and I get after it in a very tough way, not quite as much as like you would in a competition, but I feel like we get very similar amounts of adrenaline from just being here and training like that.
Well, in competition too, I mean, you're going against an opponent, you have no idea what they have. You don't know how actually skilled they are.
Yeah,
and
could be sandbagging, could be some,
Well, yeah. You don't know their moves. You don't know, you know, like what their game is or anything like that. So.
Speaking of, you went and competed not too recently, but over at AGF, and you got to challenge a purple belt.
Jiu-Jitsu World League.
Oh, Jiu-Jitsu World. I'm so sorry. Yep, Houston was Jiu-Jitsu World League. You got to go up against a purple belt, and she was trying to wrist lock you from the back. And I remember you walked off the mat, and I had seen her grabbing at your wrist and stuff while you were in back control. And I was like, did that bother you at all? And I don't know if you remember, but you were like, no, you and Nick do it way worse.
Yeah. I remember thinking that. I was like, oh, they do this so much better than you right now.
So again, like you get a lot of benefit from being in here training and stuff like that. And then to take it and make it applicable in another situation, like in a real world situation, like you don't know that girl from Eve, you know what I'm saying? And
I don't know how like hard she wants to go. I don't know how important that medal is. Are you actually going to try to like rip something? And I think in competition, that's another thing, is that like you have to try to control that situation of it as well. Obviously, you're not going to have all the control over if somebody wants to rip a submission and hurt you or whatever. But I mean, I know while I'm competing, like, because that's one of my main things that I do worry about, is that am I going to walk away with a torn ACL or a broken bone today and then have to figure this out later. Well, that is one of my biggest fears. But when I'm on the mat, when I'm actually competing, it's like, oh, well, I have more control over this situation than I realize. You know, before I even stepped on the mat, like that was my biggest concern. Now my biggest concern is, I guess, not losing.
Maintaining this chin strap from the back.
But I mean, and that's, you know, I don't know. I guess for me, I was kind of surprised at that, like how, because that's, I mean, you've seen me before competitions. Sometimes I'm in tears, like I'm freaking out. And that's one of the main reasons, like, is this younger, bigger opponent? Because sometimes that's, that has happened. Like, is this person, like, is this the day that I'm actually going to get hurt?
Well, you fought a gal that was 20 pounds.
Well, I brought that up because that was one of the competitions where I was just the most freaked out. I remember the whole drive to Lafayette. I was just like, oh my God.
She's 17 years old. I'm 37. She's 30 pounds, 20 pounds bigger than me, whatever it was. And
then when I got out there, it was just like, oh, what am I even
You double-legged her, got on
about?
top of her with knee on belly and
I think
armbarred her.
It's a confidence thing as well. I think just not really knowing, like, am I even skilled enough to be doing this? Am I crazy? I'm almost 40 years old and, I'm trying to, like, compete against 17-year-olds. And it's really not as bad as it seems or it sounds,
Not at all.
Of course, it's ideal to try to compete against someone your age. But,
yeah, absolutely.
Again, and if you're actually out in the real world trying to defend yourself,
You don't really get to pick.
I don't get to pick who tries to pick a fight with me.
Yes,
I might have a 17-year-old female one day try to pick a fight with me. So who knows?
Awesome. So working at McNeese, I mean, you do see a lot of like students that are younger. I mean, there is the potential for, like you
That's
said,
what I was saying. Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
for that sort of situation to happen, and
Not
you've
like
already
it's
addressed
violent
it. I mean,
or anything like that over there. But yeah,
No,
but
not at all,
Like,
but-
you think of that like there's possibilities.
absolutely. So it's fun to talk about all the fun stuff. What are some of the cons? What are some of the takeaways, the things that you dislike about jiu-jitsu? Is there anything as far as like being a woman that you would change about the majority of the gyms and the environment? Anything like that is kind of turns you away from this stuff?
It was starting because right now I feel like I'm so comfortable with it. What bothered me then does not necessarily bother me now.
What, do you mind? If you can, what was some of the stuff that kind of like hindered you from getting into it? Because I know that we had initially talked about it. It was just, hey, I know Amelia's doing jiu-jitsu.
So it really never crossed my mind for some reason. And again, I guess maybe just growing up and always, hearing that girls don't wrestle and all of that, and it's just a male-dominant sport.
So just the stigma of it. Just initially,
Probably,
girls don't wrestle, so like there's no reason for you to even try this out.
Right. When it's like man, females should be the number one. They definitely should be doing this, but. Yeah, just girls shouldn't wrestle. So I think when I would bring Emilia and I would watch, it never crossed my mind until you asked me that time, like, why don't you do this? You're athletic and played softball. And that's really when it was just like, I don't know. I just never thought of it. Even though I would see females walking in, preparing for adult class after the kids class, it just never clicked. And so I think maybe we talked about it a little bit more, but and I think it might just be, for me at that time, there are a lot of males. So I think that intimidated me a lot. I know Christina was one of the only females that were, her and Maria, I believe, going to going to no-gi, so that helped out. And I remember I just kind of I would cling to Christina a lot, which she always wanted to partner with another female as well, so it just worked out. I don't know if she hadn't have been there or like, and I know you really helped me ease me into it. I don't think I would have walked back through those doors because of just all the men in there, Okay. And I think anybody can, admit that like that's probably one of the biggest cons for females is that there's just so many males in it.
Gotcha.
And you don't know their intentions. They say, most of them, of course, have great intentions. They're in here to help you learn and all of that. But I know I've talked to you about this before, but like I remember I would always be one of the last ones like trying to pick a partner. When I would be the only female in a class, there'd be all males.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
and I'd be just kind of walking around like.
It'd be you and Martin at the end
And
there.
so, yeah, or you know what I mean? So it's just, I don't think anybody really wants to roll with the girl either. You know?
Rolling with you.
Well, I appreciate it. But, and it's not, I'm not trying to be ugly about it or anything like that, but a male is going to immediately let me find the other guy or another guy my size.
Right.
And, you know, even though I may be the same size as some of these guys in here or at Olympic, I'm not a go-to. I'm not going to be a go-to in the room full of men.
Right.
Now, I think by that time I was already really invested in, you know, just into jiu-jitsu and just coming. I tried not to like let that really get to me. I know sometimes I would walk in and see a bunch of guys and it was just like, all right, here we go. Here we go, just another.
I guess we're gonna fight all daggum day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them, you know, they don't know how to roll with the female. It might be an ego thing, you know, or I just can't have her beat me. So there's a little bit more strength maybe involved and just a little, a little bit too rough at some points. That could be a con, but for the most part, you do start to learn who they are and you can avoid them.
Gotcha.
And that's another thing. I can always just avoid the situation. I understand that now, and maybe just being a little bit older too, that helps out. Now, if I were 18 years old walking in here, I think it would be a little bit tougher.
I was gonna say, so I noticed that with Elena. We have another female member up here that she's a little bit younger, and it's almost like she tries to go with just everybody, and it's like, you don't have to do that. You're not that she's a super small petite little lady. She does not powerlifting, but Olympic style lifting. She's very, very strong, very athletic and capable, moves really well. But a lot of times we try to like pull her to the side and, hey, just roll with the colored belts. Just roll with Candice. Don't worry about rolling with these people. They're still trying to figure out everything that you're trying to figure out. You're not going to get a lot.
And I had that as well when I first started. I feel like, hey, that person just walked in or they're brand new, don't roll with them. But then there was still a lot of like white belts that I would roll with, male white belts.
And you'll find very good training partners at all levels. But in general, if you're a female and you're looking to get into jiu-jitsu and you're intimidated that, you know, some guy is going to do something crazy, I highly recommend just finding one of the higher belts. Even blue belts and purple belts are going to help you out tremendously. But try to find those brown belts, those black belts, because they'll sit there and walk you through the things that you need to do. That was one of my big things whenever we started training together, was it wasn't like it was fun for me to just show you things.
Right.
It wasn't a fight. Like, we got to train a little bit, but a lot of it was just drilling, like, here's this technique, here's how you do it, and then the application of it. Not so much like live rounds, like us getting after it, but more so like putting this technique in this position into application. And once you were capable of doing that, we would move on to another step. And how do I chain these things together? And
very comfortable when I would do rounds with you when I first started, because you are one of the slower moving at that time anyway, maybe not anymore. But yeah, you just took things real simple. You had no problem showing me things. And so if I were the only a female in class, like, at least I knew I had that, you know. And you will find those males in class that are more than happy to help you out,
Absolutely.
You know, and go easy. And I mean, I find almost most of the male, all of them, if not most of them, do that here. You know, I think we've done a good job with just encouraging, like, building one another up.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's not about winning and losing, and you say that all the time. It's just getting better, and you're not going to get better if you're just going to beat up on the only girl, or, you know, beat up
the littlest person in the room, whatever the case, the newest person there. Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's one thing that I've noticed about here is that, I mean, I think I've, like, and a lot of them, you know, a lot of them will apologize, like, I feel like I'm just bullying you and beating you up. I'm like, no, you're doing great. You know, like, this is good.
Yeah, it's good pressure, bro.
Yeah. But again, I think just being in it long enough now, I understand that. I know when to say, like, okay, that's no more. Stop doing that. Or, like, okay, I'm not going to roll with that person because they still haven't, you know, they don't have an understanding. They haven't gotten there yet, which is fine. But, like, just starting out, sometimes, I mean, you need that person to kind of, like, almost watch out for you a little bit.
Absolutely,
and,
yeah.
And I definitely had that, and that helped out a lot. So, but I think that might be the biggest con is just the fact that there are just so many more males than females. And I think that's why it's important to, starting to like try to get more and more women in, then you won't have that issue anymore.
Right.
Like to not have that issue, you just have to come and try it out. And, and I feel like at Olympic, we started out with, there's only a few females, and it's growing and growing, and it's continuously growing. Like, just bringing more and more females in, and they're staying, and I think that will kind of eliminate that con, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just being so many men. And I think you're not gonna always have a room full of females, but at least maybe get to a point where it's okay if I do walk through the doors and it is only a room full of males. That's what I meant.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's the point that I'm finally at. Like, I'm fine with that. Like, I know I'm just gonna have to fight a bunch of guys, which is fine, you know. But you've seen my face when a lady walks in, I'm like, oh, like I'm just excited. But I think for that too, because I get some, like, it's a better measure of my skill as well.
Absolutely.
Like when Emily comes in, I know it's going to be tough. And I like that though. I want that. Like, because I always know the guys are going to be tough. I know you're going to be tough, which is great. But when a female comes in, especially one that's like Emily, it really I think it really helps like measure my skill level, and like, am I actually learning? Am I doing better? And is this all actually working out for me well? So
also shout out Emily Vincent over at Las Vegas at Syndicate. Holler. We went and trained with them October. Had an absolute blast with those folks. Very, very good experience, and a phenomenal training partner. All of them, everybody we rolled with over there was excellent. Emily has progressed extremely quick, and I think you started a good bit before her. Maybe not like year, but like
I think
months.
It was a year before her. No, it was about a year.
And she's already a striped up purple belt, and she's moving quickly.
She did great. She's doing great.
Again, if you're a female that is interested in getting into this, it's not taboo. It's not off limits. There's no stigma as far as like inside of the gym's concerned. We want to see, as a gym owner, I want to see all of our students be the best that they can be. I want to see them succeed and be successful with whatever endeavors that they go through. So to see Candice and Emily roll, it's a lot of fun for me to see how far she's progressed. And then to go see Candice compete, it feels amazing for me to just where we were at versus where we are and where I know that we are going to be eventually. It's just very exciting. I can definitely see how it would be very intimidating for me personally. Like when I got into it, I'm sure I've told the story before, but I had a young lady that choked me out, and it motivated me to want to come back. And it like, God dang, if this is what happens when like a 125-pound girl gets a hold of me, what's going to happen when a guy my size gets a hold of me?
Yeah.
It was just it was an eye-opening, very, very scary experience for me. And that's what really motivated me to keep coming and doing this. So it wasn't even necessarily like the camaraderie or the competition or any of that stuff. It was more so just like I was painfully unaware of how inadequate I was with physical altercations, and you just don't know until you try. You do not have an understanding. So like for Elena, another female student again, watching her progress through this, because when she started, she's very strong, very agile, but just moves like we talked about with the back stuff. A lot of the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling that we do, it's almost counterintuitive to what your fight or flight tells you to do.
Right.
So you don't realize that you're going to make these horrible mistakes and actually put yourself in more danger or possibly injure your own self before your partner does because of what's going on. So when you get an opportunity to practice this stuff, you get to see where you're deficient and where you can make improvements. And then again, if you're one of those people that likes to set goals and meet those goals and constantly set new goals, this gives you that opportunity every single class you're in. I feel like you can just learn to grow, become better. And it's not just for men, it's not just for women.
Well, I think that it feeds that competitive nature. I know for me, like, I grew up playing softball, and at 38 years old, I don't know any of fast pitch softball leagues around where I can join and continue.
They don't have a Masters 2 league or something?
No, they should.
Be a lot cooler if they did.
There's slow pitch, but I was a catcher in fast pitch, and if you know anything about softball or slow pitch, the catcher's position in slow pitch is not as meaningful as it is in fast pitch. So either way, I've played a little bit of slow pitch, and it's fun. I still get to get out there and swing a bat and everything. So I think this, again, it kind of allows me to continuously be competitive. Emily was a softball player. She's doing this.
She played pro ball too, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's still in it a little bit. She's still doing stuff.
What's the thing that one of our members, Bodie, and her niece that comes and trains with us occasionally, Aubrey, they play ball together. It's not awesome ball, it's
incredible.
Yeah,
well, it's slow pitch. It's just a different ball. Yeah.
But just
sorry.
I guarantee that somebody that probably is doing jiu-jitsu. They may not make a big deal about it, but it's becoming more and more normalized that, like, it's okay to go practice some martial arts, to do something other than just go to the weightlifting gym.
And you don't have to be athletic to do this either. I think there's plenty of people that have.
I feel like I was a prime example of that. I didn't play sports as a kid.
Yeah.
I was not athletic in any way, shape, or form. I was very surprised that I was even able to meet like Marine Corps bare minimum standards. I'd never ran. I up until the point I ran 3 miles, I had never done it. Like in the Marine Corps for time, I had never done that before. So if you feel like, well, I'm just not capable of doing this, we will make you capable.
Yeah.
I promise you that if you can bend your arms and legs, you can walk around, you are capable of doing this. There's no excuse, there's no reason that you can come up with that you should hinder yourself from a good experience. So what do you feel like men can be doing differently? Because, again, like you said, there's quite a few men in the sport. It can be intimidating. Is there anything men could be doing to make this more appealing to you, to make this make it more comfortable for you? Is there something or is it just the fact that they're here and it's not a lot of women?
I guess in the gym, just don't make it so much about wins and losses when you try to roll with the female or do anything, live rounds with them. Maybe try to just make them more comfortable. I'm going to show you this move. I'm going to, instead of starting standing up, I'm going to start on the ground, or start on the bottom, things like that. And I guess really just use it more of a learning opportunity for themselves when they do a round with the female. And this is obviously newer females, right? We're not talking about ones that are already in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Also, I know men seek other men to come join a gym, but do men seek other women to come join the gym? Like how often, huh?
I was seeking you out to come join the gym.
You did, right. But that's one person, like how often, we've got plenty of males in here that have brought their buddies, their guy friends up here. And maybe that's the thing too. Maybe they don't have a ton of female friends to invite. But, are they seeking, like, people at work, we have some cops in here, like, are there female cops that would want to join? How, why wouldn't, any female cops why wouldn't they want to do something like this? So I don't know if it's like encouraging females to do it a little bit more, outside, like in the real world, wherever we are, like wherever you may work or family members. So, and that's the thing is I don't know, if men aren't doing that. I'm just kind of assuming, thinking like they really do just seek out those male friends or companions or whatever to come and join the gym. Now, while you're here, just, again, like I said, try not to to crush a female. Try not to use all your strength. Try to, really work techniques more. Maybe use it more of like, okay, this is a learning opportunity for me. I'm going to start in my worst position, the one that I suck at the most, and try to work out of it. Okay, well, I worked out of that easily. All right, well, let me go to the other position that I suck at the most, and let me try to work out of that one. And just little things like that. And then have your hard rounds with the other males,
Absolutely.
I think that will absolutely help.
So I know that we talk about that in class as well. Like, hey guys, we're going to do live rounds. Don't forget, nobody's going to give you a medal on your way out of here. So no one cares if you win or lose,
Well, and I think that message is constantly pushed here, and I think that's why I don't feel like we have males here that will just try to beat up on, a female that tries to come in. I feel like all of them have done great with me. They do great with Elena. Emily comes in, if there's ever an issue, I know we address it immediately.
Yes.
And that's the thing, is that just addressing these things, being aware of it and then addressing it, and because maybe that person isn't aware that they're being too strong or too rough or too aggressive or whatever. Just try to make them understand, like, you're not helping out, by acting this way or rolling with this girl this way. There's nothing that you have proven or anything. If anything, you've just hurt the gym a little bit more. And, and the chances of building a female program, stuff like that. But I really don't think we have, we don't have that issue. I think it's just...
Well, I think keeping open lines of communication are a very vital part of any successful business or relationship or whatever it's going to be. But I feel like we do that very well here, where we talk to people after class and, hey man, did you have a good time? Well, I had this issue or this happened or whatever. And so it allows you to kind of go back and address those things. And to do it when I was in the military, I hated being called out in front of a formation for something, because whether you did it or not, you now have to deal with not just that person that was upset about that thing, but now everybody is going to kind of talk about it. So rather than call people out, we talk about issues in front of everybody in a very anonymous way. And then I'll privately go talk to somebody. Hey man, that thing I said, that was specifically about you. I'm sure you knew that, but I just want you to know I'm not upset. It needs to stop. You can't be that heavy on somebody. Start from bad positions. If you're bigger, if you're smaller, if you're whatever, more skilled than this person, take some of those advantages that you have away from yourself and allow them to work as well. Again, nobody is going to get a medal when you walk out of that door. Nobody cares.
Well, I've noticed, like, you and Nick, y'all do a really good job of walking up to someone that's new. Hey, my name is so-and-so, whatever, and introducing yourself, and then and even trying to pay a little bit more attention to that person during live rounds or during drilling. And I've actually noticed that with all the members too. Like, if someone new is in here, they're like, oh, hey, I'm so-and-so, shake the hand. Yeah. I didn't notice that a whole lot in other places. It's just, you just walk in and...
Oh, there's a new person to beat up.
Right. And, I feel like, I don't know if Aubrey really had an experience like that, but it's very intimidating walking in and no one's going to speak to you. And I've had that before, even being a member before. Like, I've had that where I'm the only girl, and again, no one's talking to me. No one's trying to help me out with something or trying to be my partner. And you know what I mean? It's just like you're on your own. And I really do not see the guys really do that here. I mean, again, we don't have a whole lot of females, but even with just a newer person, I feel like everyone tries to just make them feel comfortable and welcome. And those are little things I've picked up on, in ranks when we're starting, they're shaking the new person's hand. I'm so-and-so. And I think that's wonderful, huh?
No, I was just going to say that I noticed that with Ryan, that older gentleman, he's 51 that just signed up. You couldn't stop Chance from talking to him. He just wanted to know who he was, where he was from, what he was doing. Have you been interested in this? Have you ever trained before? And just immediately you'd think they'd known each other from somewhere else. The way that they just got to talking and had no idea who they were. But to him, he was excited. Hey, this is another guy joining the team. He's going to add new stuff to it. he doesn't even know it yet. I don't know what he's going to add to it yet, but I got a feeling this dude is going to be important. And I feel like everybody that walks through those doors, they get that treatment, that you are a big deal. You are a big part of us being successful.
Yeah, growing.
Whether you know it or you understand it, you are a big part of our success. Just walking through that door, you just add to the team. You just make us better. So I imagine it's extremely intimidating. Renee and I have talked about it, just being older, like I'm in my 40s or I'm almost in my 40s, people being in their 50s, coming in here, females coming in here with the size or whatever disadvantage. It's intimidating to walk through those doors. You see the pictures of the guys and their shirts off and they're all swole up and stuff. And I imagine that it's like, do I really want to go fight those guys?
Yeah, I don't want to attend that class.
Yeah. And it's you come in here and it's not that way. We are not those people. Yes, this is a combat sport. We are a bunch of nerds. We are sitting around watching instructionals, learning, talking about, oh man, did you see the new whatever that so-and-so put out? Bro, he's doing this K-guard thing where he grabs his leg, he spins underneath him, he gets a hold of the other leg, and and it's just like, that's nerd stuff in my opinion. It's just, it's sitting around reading about history and like, oh man, did you know that Napoleon was over here doing this thing, and like all that stuff.
I've noticed that there's a lot more intelligent people in this sport.
Yeah.
Well, it really kind of like, it humbles you a little. You know, I feel like it humbled me, because not that like by any means do I feel like I'm super intelligent or anything like that, but there are so many different types of people that walk through the door. You know, you have lawyers and teachers and firemen.
I was just about to say
all of that, and it's really cool to see how this can like bring so many different styles, like lifestyles together. Absolutely. And everybody has like a common goal and something in common here. Like, I may not know you at all, and may not ever talk to you outside of this gym, but when I'm in the gym, I really enjoy having these conversations and learning, just new things. I like listening a lot to like what you guys talk about, and so that's, again, that could just feed to my personality as well. Like I like to surround myself a lot of times with smarter people. Like at McNeese, you'll see me a lot of times at lunch, I'm just quiet. I just listen. Yeah. The best thing to do sometimes is just listen, because I know I am just surrounded with
incredibly
intelligent people, and it's just nice to hear them speak and hear what they have to say, and I see that here in jiu-jitsu. I do find that. I like also how not only, it pulls people as far as together, a community here in Lake Charles or Sulphur, but you drive across the state and it's the same thing. You go over to Lafayette, Acadiana Jiu-Jitsu, or even to JM, and I feel like you see all of that.
I especially feel that when I go to Josh's place, to JM Modern over in Baton Rouge. Man, those guys, every time we walk through the door, you'd swear that we were like their cousins, that it's Thanksgiving, like, "What's up, bro?" Give you a big hug, come talk to you. And they only know me, as far as I can tell, most of them only know me from the internet. They only see me as like, Josh shares our stuff, so they get to see that. Maybe they could give us a follow. So they'll see that. But like, I've seen them come up to you. I've seen the little girls come up to Amelia, where like, you'd think that she was their friend when we went to that.
I noticed that, that in-house tournament. I was, because I think I had said something to you, like, those kids were so sweet to Amelia. They went right up to her. "Hi, my name is so-and-so. What's your name? How old are you?"
Oh, yeah,
blah, blah,
Charlie,
blah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, and the other,
the
other little girl, I can't remember her name. Well, little, I think she's like 13. And and these are older girls. My daughter's 8, so what does a 13-year-old really want to say to an 8-year-old? But they were just very welcoming, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And Amelia likes that too. She really kid wants enjoyed
attention
it.
And absolutely.
And it'd be included. But I think I've talked to you about this, like over at Acadiana. I've noticed that, and I don't know many of their names or really have had, just full-blown conversations with them, but I do feel like when we walk in, like they're, "Hey, how are you doing?" And, like when we went for that previous tournament where the Dubards competed.
The one where Chance won, huh? That's the one where Chance ended up
Rod,
Chance Broad over at Cajun Combat. Shout out. What's up?
But I noticed like there was like people recognized me over there, and I don't know if maybe because I went over there before and competed.
I'm sure that has something to do with it, but still.
But I remember telling you that like I was surprised at how many other gyms were involved in that tournament, like people from Head Kicks and the other gladiators, and it was just like I just really enjoyed their atmosphere. And so it's not just a sense of community here, but you go over there and it's the fact that you're in jiu-jitsu, like you're going to be welcome. Like we're going to, you know.
By the way, if you train in Sulphur, Lake Charles, Westlake, Moss Bluff, you're anywhere in the area, that is our goal here. You are always welcome. You are always wanted. We gain something from you coming and cross-training with us. It's not like we want anything from you. We just want you to come and have a good time and try to, you know, work as hard as you can while you're here. Show us some stuff. We'd love to show you some stuff. I'm not asking for you to pay me anything. I'm not asking for you to wear our gear, our stuff, any of that. You're accepted for who you are and what you have, and we feel like that's valuable, and we want you here. I did love that about that place. It does bother me that we don't do a lot of like community open mats here in Lake Charles. We've got 3 gyms and none of us really train with one another very often, and that bothers me. So if anybody from those other schools is paying attention to any of this stuff, I would love to do that. I want to start doing like a parish open mat or a big community open mat where everybody's involved. We're all a part of this.
You can do
it's
those
a very
little
niche
in-house
community.
tournaments like Acadiana does, you know? I mean, there was, like I said, all those local or like surrounding area gyms were involved in that. It wasn't just Acadiana Jiu-Jitsu.
No,
it was multiple. Like
there was a
Chance went over and did it. We've gone over and done it. But again, locally they had different gyms competing and then members going and supporting. And I don't know. I guess in my mind I was like, man, why can't we do that? But I mean, and that's, like you said, that's the goal. Like we want that. It's not anything else but to just encourage cross training, and then you get to just like, okay, well, let's see what they have, and you know, let's compete a little bit. What's the big deal? And I don't know. And I just feel like that's what Heath is doing over there.
Well, he's got the right idea. He's got a great mindset. He was Nick's wrestling coach, if I'm not mistaken, back at Acadiana High or whatever it was. And I think that Nick brings that same mentality over here. He was the first one to really push that we're not going to do politics, that we're not going to fuss, we're not going to talk about other people's gyms in a negative way. If you have anything to say, it should have something positive behind it, you know? And I feel like we do a pretty good job of that. We're not here to bring anybody down. We're not here to like bash anything. We just want to see people participate in it. Because again, it's a very niche community that we have. So, and I think that if you show people that that's the kind of community that you have, that that's what you're aiming to do, I think that would be more welcoming and inviting for females, for children, for whoever that might have. When
you say that females and children, I've noticed that a lot of females that join is because of their kids. And it's a great thing to do, like
Christina,
as a family, like you've talked about. Yeah, myself, I'm one of them. Courtney, you know, Courtney over, I always read, that's her maiden name.
Right,
we were back in high school. But, you know, there's a lot of females that have started because of their kids, and it's just a great, I know for me, that's one of my main things. I was like, oh, I can compete with my daughter. Like, this is something that we can do together. You know,
well, I think
we can train together, we can compete together, we can go to tournaments together, and I really liked that.
That was one of your Facebook pictures or profile things for the longest time, was you two at your first tournament together.
Our first tournament, yeah, in Alston. So
well, it's a chance to travel. It's just a fun thing as well, and to do it with your child, it just adds that much more. You get to have those memories forever. I talk about that with my dad, that I didn't necessarily get along with him really well, but I had that door open up to communicate with him once we started doing martial arts together, because now we had this thing that like bonded us. We both wanted to talk about our front kicks or our side kicks, and he could show me some stuff and I could show him what I've been working on, and it just gave us another thing to talk about, another way for you to relate to your child. Yeah. You know, just a lot of benefits with this. But so I think we're getting close to time. How we looking? Pretty good? Cool. So Anything
What else?
that
Oh.
anything that you can think of as far as like women in jiu-jitsu, anything you would like to see differently, things that you want to see continuing to be done correctly, anything that you would want to end on as far as like women in jiu-jitsu, or anything you just have in general. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's not as scary as it may seem. I know, again, I keep talking about how it's a male-dominant sport, but I do feel like, for the most part, they try to welcome, women into this sport because, I mean, there's a lot of great female competitors out there. There is definitely a calling for this, right? There's definitely a community for the women in jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. The self-defense, I just keep going back on that. But like I said, time will pass, just be patient with it. I think, nowadays we want to go to that self-defense class and then think that we can, fend for ourselves at any moment. And that's not true. We know that's crazy sounding, that's not going to happen. So why not over time learn this self-defense? Why not over time, you'll gain confidence and you'll lose, weight if you're looking to lose weight or stay in shape or, gain muscle. And the thing is that if you feel like, your lifestyle outside of jiu-jitsu is what might be hindering. I know for me, like it made me want to stop drinking and eating bad and all of that. Not that I drank a lot, but it's the fact that okay, I'm not going to have that beer tonight because I'm going to class. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just all those bad habits that you may have. I know jiu-jitsu just coming will help just clear all of that up. You know what I mean? And again, just over time, you're going to learn self-defense. You're going to learn how your body moves, how other people's body will move, and how things bend and shouldn't bend, and all of these things can be advantageous out in the real world.
Well, I think it's a more realistic self-defense as well. Again, looking to control the situation. Like we talked about, sometimes controlling the situation means escaping that situation. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel like if you and I get in a fist fight, you are at an advantage. I feel like my bone density, my muscle mass, I feel like you are at a severe disadvantage. So you getting into a fist fight with me is not going to help you at all. But a single leg or a double leg could possibly work against.
Or just get away, like I said, or just something to get away.
And if you get knocked down, how do I keep myself safe in this process if for whatever reason? And
it's not like I'm dying to be able to use this out in the real world. I absolutely don't want to be in this situation.
But you do use it in the real world. You compete with it.
Well, right, but in a non-competitive.
Gotcha.
Scenario. But I think about Ashley when she was in that situation. You never want to use it. You're not. I don't walk around hoping I can use jiu-jitsu on somebody one day. But thank goodness she knew it, right? Thank goodness she had the skill, because that girl, from what I understand, was not giving her an option as far as fighting. Right. We're going to fight. And if you don't have that option, someone's rushing you or whatever, thank God I know it, it's
Absolutely.
a good thing. And I really do think, if you have kids, this is another just a great way to bond with them. This is something that you two, y'all could, something that y'all have in common and you can do together.
Absolutely.
Amelia's not as interested in it as she was when she first started, but I'm hoping that'll change. And this is still something that she'll grow up with, with her and I just doing this together. Yeah. Hopefully one day she'll start kicking my butt. That's my goal, is that she's just going to be that much better than me because I can't stop her, you know. And I really just, there's a lot of confidence that can be gained through jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of friendships, and I try to encourage a lot of people that I know, or some of the females that I know, to do it. Mm-hmm. And it's just trying to push, get past that uncomfortable barrier. And
it's such an interesting perspective hearing it from a woman, just the things that really excite you about this, as far as reasons to do jiu-jitsu, the confidence, the friendship. Whereas I think guys come in here and they're like, well, I'm just going to be able to kick anybody's butt, and I'm going to be able to I'm going to get buff and lose all this weight, and You know, it's just how vastly different, you know, and that's a much more realistic, honest approach to jiu-jitsu. I want to be more confident in myself and my ability to.
That's the changes that I've noticed in myself that it's done. Like I didn't walk through the doors thinking any of that was going to happen. I didn't know like the confidence I was going to gain and the weight I was going to lose. And,
oh yeah, that's very true.
And then, but I did think about like, well, this is something I can do with Emilia as well. Like,
gotcha.
We can compete together, and that really brought me. I think that helped out as far as like just beginning at least.
Awesome.
I know other things that I may want to see, and this is maybe not necessarily like answering the question, but like in competitions, just more females maybe competing as well, like maybe pushing themselves, females that are in jiu-jitsu, like push yourself to, you know, maybe compete a little bit. Like I know sometimes when I go to tournaments, there's hardly any females, you know, in the brackets. Which is crazy, like over in Houston. You can do 155
pounds and under, or you can do 155-pound absolute.
Yeah, I was surprised at like just the few females that actually compete. You know, going to Houston, that's a bigger area. There's tons of gyms over there. And there was hardly any female divisions. One
girl your size and close to your rank. Close. That's, I mean, it's
and that
crazy.
Could be an age thing too, because you look at the kids and there's a ton of like little girls doing jiu-jitsu. Tons of them, it seems like.
Well, I think part of it is people don't want to get embarrassed. They have an idea of what their skill level is, and if you go test it and you lose, well then you don't have that skill set, which isn't true at all. Again, I don't care about competition because competition is in and of itself a skill. Like if you only played softball in your backyard, never played with a full team, you would have a much different experience when you stepped on the field with a full team and then a whole team of people behind you, and it's just going to be a different thing. You have to get comfortable with competing in and of itself, not just doing good at jiu-jitsu, not just being proficient here in the gym, but you have to be able to take the skills that you have here and then be able to be super sharp with them against somebody else while all of your friends and maybe your family are watching, taking pictures. It can be very nerve-wracking. And then after a while, I think after the couple of tournaments that you do or a couple of competitions, you begin to feel like, oh, okay, well, this isn't a big deal. Everybody still loves me and supports me regardless of whatever. And it doesn't matter. They like whether I win, lose, draw, whatever. They're my friends. They support me. That's my team. Right. You know, and I think that's a hard thing to understand for a lot of people that want to compete. They feel like, well, I'm going to embarrass myself. I'm going to embarrass my team. You going out there is enough. Right. And I think a lot of times, like I've been competing lately was just to measure my skill, you know, to see, okay, am I getting better and things like that. And I know another thing, I know you and I have talked about this with jiu-jitsu, but it helps relieve a lot of stress too. So I know if I have a bad day at work or just don't feel like I did very well teaching a lesson, or I have tons of things to do, and because you know my job stresses me out tremendously during the semester, I walk into this gym and I don't have time to think about any of that. And then when I leave, everything just seems so much more clear. Like, okay, now I have solutions to these issues or to these problems, you know. That's another thing that I've noticed too that it's done with me, is that it just kind of helps me clear my mind. It's therapeutic almost. Very therapeutic, yeah. It's an opportunity to you don't have time to fester on those what are these problems I'm dealing with outside of the gym? Because when you're in here, that one person in front of you is your problem. That is the only problem that you need to worry about. And if you don't worry about that, that problem grows immensely. Yeah. So I know that's not just for females. I mean, that's for everyone. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone. It just makes whatever problem that you had at work or whatever issue you had just that much more less. You know, I feel like, I mean, so I know that you talk about it with like work, and then being a mom sometimes can be, you know, kind of overwhelming. I know being a father can be extremely overwhelming for me. So this gives me an opportunity to kind of like reassess all that stuff. Right. It gives me an hour to just, I do not think about any of that. For that 1 hour, this is my life. Jiu-jitsu is my life. And then once that hour is over, however long I have to be up here, when I walk out those doors, everything is easier.
Yeah.
Everything.
I've noticed that. Like, I really have had those situations where I just need to go to class and have someone beat me up for a second and not have to think about, the dozens of papers I need to grade or,
I've had those days.
just whatever bad day I had at work.
You pull up in the parking lot and you're almost in tears because you're just like, I just can't do it. I can't take it anymore. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I feel bad. I'm whatever.
Yeah.
My kid's mad. I'm homework's due, blah, blah, blah. And it's overwhelming. And you come in here, all that, it's almost like you open the door and that weight just falls off your shoulders. Like, I don't have time for any of that. All that is going to be here when I walk back out that door. But for right now, this is my priority. This is my concern. And those teammates depend on me to be that way as well.
Right.
So it's not just you doing it. It's somebody encouraging you to be better. Give it a break. Let it sit right there at that door. And when you come back, it'll be there waiting for you. But for right now, I am your priority.
And you're gaining so much when you're here as well. So it's not like I'm just, like you're walking into the gym to lift weights to try to forget about whatever. You're gaining strength and you're gaining confidence and all of that. There's so much when you leave, when you walk out, not only those, whatever was, bad had happened earlier that day, that's been alleviated, but you've also gained a really important skill. Even it's just one little thing, my hand needs to be here instead of here. I've learned that today. Even just something that small, minute, it's better than nothing, know?
And you'll do that the entire time you're in jiu-jitsu. Me and Julian were rolling this afternoon, and we're talking about Kimuras, and I'm talking about, we've talked about teeing off with our opponent where we get over the top of them, but in that T-type position, and then throwing the leg over and getting the foot to the hip as you coming around the back, keep them smushed down for the Kimura. And he was the foot to the hip thing. I don't know why I never did that, bro. That was the secret sauce to it or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're going to do that the entire, I can't tell you how long he's been training, because he trained over in Lafayette for a while, trained over here now for almost the entire time we've been open.
Yeah.
So he's seen Kimuras for how long now? It's one of the first moves you'll learn as a white belt. So it's just, it always impresses me, because I have the same moments where I realize, I've been doing this 9+ years, and I'll grab something and I'm like, oh, if I just turn this way, oh my God, and I've been doing this wrong for a decade, you know? And
it's changed your whole game.
Absolutely. And you'll have those little improvements every single time you walk through the door. It doesn't always show itself immediately. It might be next week, next month, but you picked up on something at this class that'll follow you for the next however many years you choose to continue jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Well, is there anything that you would like to add to end off on? Is there anything that you want to talk about or say?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Well, I got a little spiel that I give. If you are curious, if you are wondering, if you worry about it, you are always wanted. You are always loved. Whether that be family, friends, whatever the case. If you feel like you don't have that stuff, you can find that somewhere. People want you to be around. I cannot emphasize it enough. You are loved and you are wanted. If you're having a hard time, I hope that you find people to talk to. I hope that you find those solutions to those problems that you're facing. For me personally, jiu-jitsu was a huge part of me improving my life. Before jiu-jitsu, I wallowed in my depression and my anxiety. I allowed it to control me. A lot of the times I allowed it to control the relationships I had with friends and the way that I perceived myself. And it'll crush you. It'll crush the person that you are. It'll rob the joy from your life. And if you're struggling with those problems, if you're having issues with that stuff, I really do. I hope that you actively seek resolution for it. Don't sit and wait for that resolution to come. Just like with jiu-jitsu, if I sit around waiting for something good to happen, I'm probably going to get submitted. And life will do the same thing to you. Depression will do that to you. It'll break you immensely. And if you're out there and you're dealing with those things and you're struggling, if no one else does, I love you and I appreciate you. So I hope you guys have a great day, and we will talk to you hopefully soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
I can't hear you. Hello.